Alrighty, we're doing our project on the Tacoma Narrow Bridge. This was the third largest bridge at the time. It was known by Galloping Gertie by the locals because of its strange behaviors during the construction process. This bridge was engineered by Leon Moisey. He was the leading suspension bridge engineer in the United States at the time. This bridge spanned 5,400 feet across the Tacoma Narrow Strait, connecting the Tacoma and Gig Harbor in Washington State. This project took 2 years, started in 1938, finally opening it to the public in 1940.
Some facts of the incident. The morning of November 7th, the day the bridge actually collapsed, did seem to be pretty problematic. Kenneth Arkin, one of the daily observers from the toll business, made his first daily observation at 7:30 that morning. He made a second check at 10:30 and already realized an increase from 38 to 42 miles per hour in the wind speed. Traffic was halted immediately and the bridge was evacuated. Observers quickly gathered nearby as the bridge began to twist back and forth and even up and down. By 10:30 that morning, the bridge was in the process of collapsing. The cables began to tear, allowing the bridge to fall into the river below section by section. Amid the collapse, Leon Coatsworth, a newspaperman, was forced to abandon his vehicle with his pet dog inside. Luckily, the only casualty of the crash was his pet dog.
After much planning, construction started September 19th, 1938. Even while under construction, the bridge was moving up and down due to the high winds. Despite these issues, the bridge opened up on July 1st, 1940. On the same year, November 7th, the bridge collapsed due to such high winds and fell into the Puget Sound. Due to U.S. involvement in World War II, it took 10 years to rebuild the next Tacoma Bridge.
So due to low funding and neglect to certain factors such as aerodynamics, the bridge was a great failure. Now, the design was basically a slab of concrete with metal suspension cables connecting it to hold it up in the air. Now, engineers have since studied the failures and are now finding new ways to improve them, such as opening up the bottom of the bridge and allowing air to pass underneath. So today, the engineers accounted for these problems and have applied them to modern bridges.
Some of the other engineers were David B. Steinman and Joseph B. Strauss. Strauss also engineered the Golden Gate Bridge previous to the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. The bridge was a long, narrow, and very flat, and given its design, it was very susceptible to oscillations caused by high winds. The high winds would cause a Kármán vortex on the downwind side of the bridge, which is basically just a vertical wind spiral that would cause the bridge to oscillate up and down. And given that it was built in an area susceptible to high winds that happened frequently, including when it was built, and it also was the cause for its collapse.
Many other inventions came about the Tacoma Narrows collapse. One major one that we found was the wind power alternative. An engineer major from MIT, Sean Frayne, noticed an increasingly growing issue in developing countries. Frayne set a goal to help these countries improve their sources of energy to a much more efficient standard. Initially, Frayne developed and produced a prototype referred to as the wind belt. This device harvested wind power in a completely new way, however proved to be too expensive to mass produce. With cost and size in mind, Frayne and his team constructed a new prototype no bigger than the size of a cell phone. Frayne says his new design employs a top membrane that when air passes over it vibrates between metal coils, generating electricity. Frayne claims his design was influenced from the collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, and that his device mimics and harnesses the same vibrations that caused this great bridge to collapse.